Heather learns her case may be reopened. Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel General Hospital Update. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Heather learns her case could be reopened. And Molly's news leaves Christina with questions. General Hospital. Diane wants answers from Alexis, while Trina has questions for Laura. And Tracy and Stella bond. All products and services featured are independently chosen by editors. However, Soaps.com may receive a commission on orders placed through its retail links, and the retailer may receive certain auditable data for accounting purposes. Tracy finds Stella sitting on Gregory's bench in the park and joins her. Stella asks how the memorial was. Tracy says it was wonderful. A lot of memories were shared, and they celebrated what Gregory left behind. Stella asks what he left her. Tracy answers, she ate it. Tracy wishes she met Gregory before his illness limited him. However, she knows he probably say it allowed him to tap into strengths he knew he had, and maybe it would make her look for her own. Types of synonyms. Stella says Gregory had a lot of strengths, and he put them to good use. She also knows what it's like to feel cheated. She is thinking about someone dear to her, who she lost a long time ago, and lost again today. She tells her about the love of her life, Marcus, who she gave up to help her sister raise her kids. She found out today that Marcus died, and it's making her think about everything she never had. She thanks Tracy for sitting here and hearing it out. More, look who's coming to Port Charles. At Christina's, Blaze brings Christina some snacks and tea that are healthy for her and the baby. Christina recalls she wished the baby was theirs, and she admits she imagines that too sometimes. Christina says she'd need a bigger place, and Blaze imagines them getting a big house, with enough rooms for when her brother Eloy comes to visit. They continue to let themselves run with the idea. Christina says her mother is a great-grandmother, and Blaze's mother, perhaps being a grandma, might mellow her out. She could see them teaching their kids about music. Blaze would never want to push their kids into music if it wasn't something they wanted. Christina says they'll let their child reveal who they are to them. She says it's nice to fantasize about the future, but now might not be the right time. There's a knock on the door, and it's Molly, who needs to vent. Molly didn't realize Blaze was here, and Blaze says she can go check emails. Molly tells her to stay, and she explains she and TJ had a blowout fight. Blaze notes couples fight all the time. Molly says, not us, and Christina backs her up on that. Molly says they never fought, until this past year. Christina assumes it's because she became their surrogate. They sit down, and Molly explains to Blaze that she and TJ have been together since high school, and perhaps they were so focused on their careers that they didn't face a lot of the real-life problems couples have or fight about. Now it's all blowing up in their face at once. Molly says she and TJ used to always be on the same page, but not now. He's saying one thing, then later says he didn't mean it and was just falling in line with her. She wishes TJ would say what he wants, and not take months to do so. Molly tells herself it will be fine. Christina asks if TJ is having buyer's remorse about her. Molly says nothing, and Christina thought they ironed this out months ago. Molly did too. Blaze asks what the issue is. Christina says Jay thinks she's a flake, and he only agreed to have her as the surrogate because it's what Molly wanted. Christina says, TJ wouldn't trust me to take care of a cactus, let alone this baby. Molly says this surrogacy has brought out an underlying issue. She and TJ haven't been communicating lately, and they need to work on that. Molly thinks she should get back to work and is sorry for interrupting their afternoon. She thinks she and TJ will be fine and gives Christina a hug. Molly heads out, and Blaze says she's never seen her sister like that. Christina hasn't either. Christina wonders what would happen if they don't make it through this, and they split up. She wonders what her rights and obligations are if that happens. She realizes she needs to figure this out. At the Invader, Adrian brings champagne to Alexis's office to celebrate the paper's rising circulation numbers. Alexis says she's a recovering alcoholic, and he's made this paper a target with the mayor. She warns Adrian that he does not want to square off with Laura Collins. Adrian asks who is more trusted in Port Charles, the Invader or a politician like Laura Collins, and who is fighting, and says she'd like an answer to that question. She wants to know if this information about Laura is reliable, and Alexis says hardly. Diane says having been on the other end of the hook, She would like to know more. Alexis tells Adrian to leave, and Alexis explains the only evidence Adrian has is that Laura requested transcripts of the court hearings. Diane asks why Laura wanted them. What is that official-looking file on her desk? And where did she get it? Alexis says she got it from Laura, and they are the transcripts she asked her to look over. Diane grows angry and says, "So it's true, Laura is angling for Heather's release, and you are helping her." Alexis says all she did was look over the court records, and there was never a medical evaluation of Heather, and now there is new evidence that Heather's cobalt poisoning drove her mad. Alexis says there are precedents set for Heather's case to be reopened. Diane says for everyone she finds, she'll find another to fight it. Alexis says, "There is one problem. This is a precedent you set." Diane doesn't have the foggiest idea what she's talking about and tells her to name it. Alexis responds, "The state of New York versus Robert Frank, a.k.a. Franco." Diane is shocked. Alexis says Franco was found not to be responsible for his own actions due to a tumor, and the same could be said for his mother. Alexis says she's not judging her, she did her job, and if Heather goes free, Diane knows if her would-be killer goes free, she has nobody to blame but herself. Diane asks, "What do I do?" Alexis suggests she keep her mouth shut and hope someone doesn't stumble on her defense and use it to free Franco's mother. In Laura's office, she assumes Trina is here to talk about the article in The Invader. She says they got it all wrong, and she is not looking to have Heather freed. Trina wants to know what her plans are because she knows her, and she knows Spencer thought the world of her. Laura admits she's being pulled in several directions here. Trina says she needs answers on behalf of all the victims. She already knows about the metalysis. Laura says the invader mischaracterized what she did, and all she did was ask for court records. Trina asks if Heather's condition would have been taken into account during her trial. Would she have been freed? And is that what Laura wants? Laura says all they have now are what-ifs, such as what if this disease was found earlier and treated, would the crimes not have happened? Trina says they did happen though, and 5 people are dead. There is a knock at the door, and it's Kevin. Laura says she and Trina were busy talking, and he thinks he came just in time to run interference. Trina says that's not necessary, but he thinks it is given her upcoming article in The Invader. Kevin says there is a promo in The Invader that Trina is going to sound off on Laura's attempt to free Heather. Trina insists she gave no such interview. The paper reached out, and she shot them down. Trina decides to go, but before she does, she asks Kevin if he thinks the metalysis caused Heather to become a killer. He says it's a complicated situation, but when the metalysis was found, all they could do was remove it, which her mother advocated for Trina knows, and now her mom is kicking herself. Trina decides to go, but swears she won't be giving any interviews. Alone, Kevin feels partly responsible for this, as it was he who started this by asking Alexis if there was a legal precedence for Heather's case being reopened. He had no idea it would lead to her career being in jeopardy. Laura says she doesn't blame him. She has to do the right thing for including Heather. Laura also points out Portia treated Heather, but didn't think about what the poisoning could have done to her in the long run. Laura admits she doesn't think Heather is completely innocent, but she does believe Heather should get a fair hearing. He says he understands, and she tells him to remember that when everyone is coming for her head. At Pentonville, Heather is brought out to meet her visitor, but she doesn't know him. Curtis says he knows her. Heather says pretty much everyone knows her, Crazy Heather the Hook Killer. Curtis says she's been in the news a lot. Heather doesn't follow it because it reminds her of how ugly the world is, and how she contributed to it. She says she doesn't get gentlemen as good-looking as him visit her and asks what his name is. He says, Curtis Ashford, father of Trina Robinson. Curtis talks about the pain she brought to Trina, and with the loss of Spencer, the light in her eyes has gone out. Heather gets emotional, and he asks if she's offended by the truth. Heather says she's not and cries the problem is she doesn't know what to say about the pain she caused him and others, and sorry is inadequate, but it's all she can say. He says she's right, and she can't change anything. Curtis asks her if she hadn't been captured, what were her intentions for Trina. Heather says all she can say is somehow she mixed up protecting her daughter with killing people, and she remembers everything she did, but she doesn't know why she did those things. Curtis asks if this is practice for when her case gets reopened. She asks why would her case be reopened. She pulled guilty. Curtis realizes she really doesn't know and tells her that Mayor Collins is looking into having her case reopened. Heather says this is a crazy idea and she'll ask Laura to stop it. She admits she's a rotten person who has done terrible and unforgivable things. She remembers the hook, the weight of it, the sound it made. She knows she is where she belongs and no judge needs to say otherwise. She again apologizes for the light going out in his daughter's eyes. Curtis says she's given him a lot to think about and he won't be back. Heather is then taken back to her cell. On the next General Hospital, Trina can't make Gio any promises. Liz meets with Chase and explains she can't subject her kids to Finn right now. Finn jumps when Violet calls out to him. Christina asks, what happens to the baby if Molly and Tay split up? Alexis says, don't ask me to. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel.